Alright, today we start the reassembly. Got the head all put back together and ready to go. Here, something I have been doing, this has been sitting for a while. I've been using a spray lubricant. I just use Top Engine lubricant. This is Seafoam. We can use any type, not a sponsor. But I've been using it to keep this from getting too dry and rusting or anything. So I've sprayed those cylinders a few times just to make sure that keep some oil in them. Now I'm going to have to go through and I'm going to use some carbon choke cleaner and a razor blade to clean that surface up real good for the gasket.
Yes, this is a what now?
2004 Subaru Impreza with the 2.5 boxer 4-cylinder. And something else I'm going to do, which I still got to do, so I know I'm not going to get there today, is I know there's people who figured out what the final torque rating should be after the puzzle box instructions Subaru gives you for putting the head back on with a head gasket.
2 cranks forward, 1 crank back.
Yeah, and then 1 crank forward, then 2 cranks back, then 3 cranks
opposites
forward,
attract.
and then
Play the Paula Abdul song, dance around the car. Yes, it's weird.
But you get through all that. Well, I know I've seen someone actually say they figured out what the torque ratings were supposed to be, or what a good torque rating for those boats final was supposed to be, and I just got to find where it was. I haven't found it yet. When I saw that, I didn't really expect to be working on a Subaru. So, and I'll get started just by cleaning this up. Like I said, just using a razor and just cleaning it all off. And I'll take carb cleaner and clean it all up again. Be careful not to dig into the metal. There's other things you can get to do this with. I don't have. Although as much as I'm doing gaskets now, I probably should have. But this is the old-fashioned way.
It works. Hood is going into maintenance mode.
Yeah, which is just these are nice because they go way back, and it's supposed to stay, but I don't trust it, so I'm going to get a piece of rope and toss it over that beam so it can't fall on me. But it's just too hard getting in here or working around that.
There we go. Finished product.
I'm sure you saw it in the picture before, but this was the bolt that was Loctited in, and I just cleaned a bunch of black gunk that built up around it. It came out here. That was where you can kind of see in here where this is where it was leaking because that bolt wasn't tightened down.
Yeah.
So, and you can see it bad here too. This one wasn't tightened properly either up here, and you can see where it built up and leaked there.
So try to get back there so you can see a better view. Yeah, that one there. This one down here is one he just cleaned, and it was in this crevice here. He's going to get this up here a bit better.
Yeah, I'm still cleaning. I just started on that, and it's just stuff I noticed. And you can see with these, I scrape them so the blade's kind of this way because
pardon the bumping.
When you have aluminum components, the steel can cut into them, so you got to be careful of that. So I scrape them that way. That way it doesn't cut into. It's not going to cut into the aluminum in any way. But like I said, there's better devices now than stainless steel. But it's what I got.
What you got?
All right, I've cleaned it. Carbon choke cleaner. You can see I've gotten a bunch of the carbon off the cylinders too. And everything's cleaned up, and I'm doing a final wipe down. And something I like to do is you get one of these good shop rags, just wet it down with the cleaner you're using, whatever it is, and do a final wipe over. And that'll get anything that may be sticking to it off. Normally I do 2 wipe downs, but...
Okay, so we're not getting much there. All we're getting is a hose, but yeah, y'all get the idea.
You get the idea. And it's a good telltale for how well stuff is, because this has been scraped, but you can see still stuff's coming off. if you get this rag if you get this rag comes back clean, then you know you're done. So you may have to do this a couple times.
You got any words of wisdom?
Not really. Velcro gasket. This is the same as the old blue. They have traditional blue and they have modern black, and apparently I didn't really pick a color. They sent black. It says this side up, word side's out. So
how many do you got? It looks like you got more than one.
Yeah, these are layered, so there's 3 layers. Different ones will have different amount of layers. But 3. This one's got 3, and I think that's pretty standard. But I've not done a whole lot of head gaskets, so.
I just wanted to make sure I said that, because when I first saw that, I'm like, oh, they sent 3 in a pack. It's like, no, there are 3 layers to the same thing.
And I'm just double checking, making sure everything matches up properly. Because you never know when they somehow manage to get the wrong gasket sent to you. And everything matches up. So now I've cleaned everything on both sides, so now it's a matter of getting everything ready to go. Alright, now to try to get the head back in the car from underneath, because there's hoses in the way and a fender in the way from going above. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. I put a towel on the greasy cross member so I can keep this head clean. Ish, anyways. Alright.
And don't worry, if there is cracking of bone and blood, I will put a laugh track in for you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, I'm thinking.
Is that what I'm smelling?
Yep.
I thought something was smoking. I can tell he's concentrating. He's letting me get away with all these zingers here.
Okay. Now, camera guy, can you hold that? You don't have to hold better than that.
Camera guy can hold that.
New head bolts.
Yep.
Should already be in the head. They're not. Stay. Alright, back down it goes. Can't get the head bolts in once it's up like that. Now here comes finger strength test. And of course you fall over. Now I gotta lay on the floor and start these bolts. Okay, where's that carb cleaner? I managed to get dust. And it's way over there. I managed to get dust on the top part, so I'm going to clean it off before I start lifting it again. Because I don't want any dust or grit in the engine. Big no-no.
That might be bad.
And judging from how I've seen other people do, I way over clean stuff, but I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
All right.
God willing, this is the only time we have to do this on this particular engine with this particular vehicle.
Well, fine. You just go down there. Okay.
There we go. Lifting head.
Yeah, tilt it up. The bolts make it harder. That's for sure.
Yeah, I figured that would.
But you can't get the bolts in after it's in. So.
I figure that's true too. It's kind of hard to get the bolts in after it's up.
Come on, bolt. Too far that way. Come on, bolt. There we go.
You're seeing the struggle in real time. I know a lot of people like to fast forward this type of stuff and put music over it to make it a magical experience, but sometimes working on cars is not a magical experience, just a frustrating one.
Stay.
That's a frustration you love.
Or reinforces your idea I'm selling this thing.
Yeah, I can do that too.
Okay. There's no wind whatsoever till the moment I set a paper towel down. Then we get a breeze.
That's two if you're counting. Let's see how many of these head towels.
That's
are gonna end
two
up on
that
the
you've
floor.
recorded. I've already dropped 3 others. Now the fun part is I've got one bolt that I can't get out of the way to get this gasket in there. There we go. Now you'll lift. Okay. We're going to go back to, I've got this engine supported up that way and that way. So
That's not going to warp those bolts.
if it does, I've got extras. But it should not. Because I am probably going to have to jack up this engine. Because I can't get that bolt to move so I can get the gasket in there. Before, I took the mounts, unbolted the engine mounts. Horrible, but there's nowhere else to bolt. So, great big wood block under the oil pan. It's only taking the engine's weight, and I'm going to try to keep it there as short a period of time as possible. And I'm going to try to get this in here now where I can. Of course, the towel I had on that, so I wouldn't get gunk on everything is gone. So I'll set another towel down. And
This towel's like 7, 8, 9, 10, something.
that's it. I'm going to set you on these and do my best not to gouge you.
That would be bad.
Yeah, I'm going to do it the other way. Alright, we set the head gasket on. I got the engine slightly jacked up, so I should have more clearance.
If you can't see, the head gasket is on the head itself right now with the bolts holding it in
We already
place.
established this head gasket wasn't blown, right?
Yeah, it just would never tighten down. Okay. Nope, not you. Alright.
Yep.
Come on, you. And you.
And I apologize for the angles, but I am sacrificing visuals for safety because we ain't getting paid for this.
But that trick did work. This was the trick I was talking about in one of the early videos on the fact that you've got to have the engine lifted just a little bit so you can clear the bolts. And that's what I did. Now it's got start feeding these bolts so it can hold it on. Then I'm going to take the jack down so this engine's not sitting on its oil pan any longer than it has to. Oh yeah, I forgot there's a bolt still stuck in this because it won't come out, and that's what's holding it. I forgot about this bolt trap back here. Ha! There we go.
Yeah, but y'all can see what's going on here. He's lifted it. He's getting the bolts in slowly, and I'm going to get out of his way so he can finish this.
Yep, all I'm going to do is do this, then I'm dropping the jack so the engine goes back into the engine mounts, and I get the weight off the oil pan, because I do not like it being on the oil pan. Is that the right way, or is it the... Yeah, I think that's the right way. See, it lines up with this back hole. See, that hole goes with that hole back there. Alright, watch your fingers. We got a video. Found a video. It said it was...
Matthew White.
Yeah. He actually gave final torque specs for the head bolts. And it should be 85 psi for the two center ones and 75 psi for all four of the corners. And doing them starting at 35 and then going up in 10-pound increments.
Pound foot, not PSI.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, pound foot. Sorry.
Dyslexia works again. Yes, we got you. We know what you mean. Dyslexia works again.
Pound feet. Yeah. Ignore the PSI. But pound feet. But then he didn't do the back off and tighten up and all that stuff on it. I'm back and forth on whether I'm going to do a combination of both or just do these. But I am going to make sure that that side is to these and this side is to these at the end. So I have a set. It's going to be 75 pound-feet for all the corners and 85 for the center.
Yes. And what is
pound feet, not pound inches, was it?
As pound feet, yes. Now, what is going to be your tightening procedure?
Tightening order is 1, 2.
Could you do that again one more time, please?
1, 2. Now I'll do it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's the way you're tightening it.
Mm-hmm. And you need to give, if you are doing the 10 pounds per Titan, you want to give it enough time that the bolts don't heat up. So do that, then take a break. Or do the other side if you're doing the other side. That way you don't heat up the bolts too much because they'll warp if you get them hot. If you do it too quickly, you can get the bolts hot enough that they'll warp and potentially stretch. So you don't want that.
Don't want warpage. You don't want warpage. You don't want stretchage. You don't want strippage.
Yeah.
These are bad
scared
things.
For a moment there. I was worried the one that had Loctite in it had Loctite in it because they stripped it out, but it did bite and it did good. It just took a long time to get there.
Yep.
So I've got them just right now. All I've got them in is just snug, just barely hand snugged. And I'm going to go back and do them again and show getting the gasket in there. Just make sure I could do it before I put everything together. I'll have to lift this and slide that intake gasket under it again. So that's after the fact. But it worked. It did fine. It didn't damage the gasket. So that'll work. A lot easier than taking all this stuff off.
Oh, yeah.
Because that tends to be the theme I have is I don't want to take everything off.
Yeah, you don't want to take the whole thing out. You don't want to take everything off.
That I'm going to do after I have it bolted down is I'm going to use some top end lube and I'm going to spray it down the spark plug tubes to get it in the cylinders again and spray all this stuff down. That way you don't have a dry start. That way there's some lubricant in it when you finally start moving the engine.
Yeah, dry starting would be bad.
So that's just something I've always been taught when working with machinery. If you do it and it's drained the oil off, make sure you put a coat of oil on it before you try to move it.
Yeah, dry starting would be bad.
So I'm going to do that, which it may or may not be filmed. So I just figured I'd go on and tell you now, and I'm going to do it after the gasket's tightened.
I didn't want to mention we're not working with Matthew White. He doesn't even know us. We don't know him. It's just...
Not a sponsor. It was the video that we found that someone actually gave those numbers. There are others on there that have given those. I can't find them. I thought I saved them, but they're not in my saved stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah, but called that guy's video out so y'all can find him if you want. And there's this video here.
All right. So here we are, back to putting this together again. Got a day where it's not horribly hot and I have time. So it's Labor Day. I actually have Labor Day off, which is unusual. But getting ready to do the torque. I decided I am going to do the step up 35, 45, 55. Do the 10-pound step up on the bolts and do it around instead of doing the weird Subaru thing. Got a cheap Harbor Freight torque wrench. I've set it to 35, which was at least what I think is 35, because if you ever use one of these things are really fun to read because their little marks don't line up where they should be. So someday I'll have a nice tool, but they work. And I'm going to start with, I think it's supposed to start top first. The fun part is I have limited clearance, so alright, we'll do the long one, and then I'll have to switch to the short one. And there it goes. And this one, I can't get that one in there. So there's going to be a lot of changing sockets.
So if you think, man, nobody ever has to go through this but me, you're in good company.
Ouch. All it's had is blood sacrifice.
Again.
Trying not to hurt the power steering lines. Alright. That's too long to fit in there. We got them all to 35 with adapter and another. So if I don't shear that off, I'm good. But I keep having to switch to these for these upper ones so I can clear these lines. So it's all kinds of fun. And now I'm going to set this. I've done 35. I'm going to set it up to 45 and let it sit for a little while for the bolts to cool down. Nope, those are 10.
So what are you doing now?
I am starting the process while I'm letting, in between torquing. Since I'm supposed to let them cool, I'm going to start taking apart the pulleys and the water pump. 14 millimeter for this bolt on this pulley, which you got to take off to get that out. And I think these are going to be 10 millimeter because 12 was too big. Yep, 10 millimeter. So 10, 14. There's some 12, so you need a 10 millimeter, 14 millimeter, some 12 millimeter, 10 millimeter. It's all over the place. One of those fun sets you want a good metric set.
Tell me the water pump has never been changed without telling me the water pump has never been changed.
On the plus side, this does verify my suspicion that the coolant that was leaking out of the engine was coming from the water pump. It was until that head gasket gave. So this was the problem before that. I think these pulleys may have been replaced because they still feel really nice, but I don't know.
Yeah,
If I got new ones, I'll put new ones in. If I don't got new ones, it'll go back. They feel nicer than some of the new ones I felt on other vehicles, which is okay. In that their defense, you're talking Chrysler products, but still. All right, removing this line, this water line, feed line. I'm probably going to replace it too because of how swollen it is. It's yeah, it's not supposed to be that size. I didn't know that till I took the clip off.
Cameraman's got to play. Cameraman's got to play. It's a toy. Ew, it feels like a giant zit. It feels like a giant. That is disgusting.
It needs replaced.
Ew.
Find the right broken screwdriver for the job. Nope, that one's just not broken. Aha, you're broken.
For the three of you that visited our blog when we had one, you remember he went off on an article one time talking about the need of broken screwdrivers.
Oh yeah, they're talking about always have good tools and never, if one fails, just toss it. And it's like you've never had to work with stuff, and sometimes you get that broken screwdriver broken just right to work perfectly for stuff like this.
Yeah, because we ain't saving that hose or that water pump it's attached to.
But yeah, that's yummy. And yes, a lot of things will say take this off first, but I'm going to take it off after because I may end up having to buy a new neck because I had to do screwy things to get that neck back on because it all stripped out. So we'll see. I'm going to take it off first and then see. It may be fine, and I'm not going to worry about it until I've got it off and figure out if it's fine.
If you're wondering, yes, we did purchase quick jacks. We're going to, in a future video, assemble these and test these out and let you know if they're worth the investment or not.
Yeah, we just determined that it was too difficult to put them under this car to use them with this car, so they're sitting there for now. Although I did have to move them completely out of the way so I could work on this car again. Okay, I'm doing the next round, so this is going to be 45. I know why it's leaking. That bolt was not tightened. I hope it's not stripped, but that was not tightened. That one right there, I barely touched it and it came loose. That one wasn't super tight. I know they don't tighten a whole lot. None of them are super tight, but that one was not tight at all. It didn't even have the little snap you get when you break it loose. It just went... So... now I gotta remember where all these bolts are that have to come out. There's one more there. That I cannot. I'm gonna need a smaller socket because that will not fit in there. Nice. I've noticed a trend with this car. Stuff is leaking where they didn't tighten the bolts down. Important lesson. Finding all the hidden bolts. There's another one down here. There's one hidden there. There's one hidden there. And then we'll see after I take this one out where the next hidden one is. There's probably more somewhere. I'll find all the bolts. That's the game. I'm going to lay on the ground. Alright, then the next round of this, I'm up to 55. Okay, and trick on these, because I know this will be a good one, because some people, these aren't always intuitive. You loosen this end up, you try to find the number you're trying for, wrong side, this side, find the number you're trying for. I loosened that one, I changed it. But I was at 55, there's 50. Now I'm going to 65, so turn it to 0, and that'll put you at 60. You can't hardly see. Don't worry, I can't hardly see it either. And then you get 65. That notch in between 4 and 6. You see the 60's close. You tighten that bolt down. And there you go. You're set to 65. Which is the next level.
If you don't know how to use a torque wrench, now you do.
Well, at least one of those. You have nicer ones. You have digital ones where you can set the thing and it does it for you.
Those the only two bolts you found under there?
Well, these are just the two for the the thermostat.
Hmm.
So I plan on loosen them. I may take them out because there may be a bolt up underneath it. I'm not sure. There you are. Long arm for the win. But yeah, I'm just taking the thermostat off now because I think it might be hiding a bolt too. If not, I may have to pry it from behind it because it is not moving.
This thing not moving at all. Not moving a short either. Hey, it's been a long time since I used that joke. It's right up there with our sometimes you feel like a nut bit we did through all of 2020 and 2021.
I finally got you to quit.
I think I just finally got tired of it.
I got where I wasn't responding to it. There we go. That. And the thermostat. That is a new thermostat, so I am reusing that thermostat. Let's just put you there for now.
What's the verdict?
Are you a bolt?
Let me know if it responds.
It won't tell me anything. Maybe I need to be able to speak Japanese. I can't speak Japanese. Found another bolt. It's behind the line here on the engine. Then under everything. I had to remove that bad line anyway to really get to it.
Hopefully y'all can see where it's at. If not, at least you got a good shot of
yeah, it's
ratchet
underneath all
turn.
this stuff way back here in the back.
See if you can see where he's pulling it out at. Maybe you could if I turn the light on.
Right here.
There it is. Okay, yep, we got that.
All right. And I did the old use a knife to cut the hose trick. The hose is right there. But it wouldn't release from the top. I was actually the hose was going to rip in half before it pulled off, so I just sliced it so I could get it off.
Yeah, that thing is being tossed
But it's garbage. It would blow. Probably next long trip it would blow.
Like I said, it felt like a zit. Hoses aren't supposed to feel like a zit.
It's the only one of the soft lines on the coolant system I haven't replaced, so. That was, in fact, the last bolt. I touched it and just kind of gently tugged it, see if it moved, and it came flying off at me. I'm a little soaked.
Sorry I did not catch it. I did not expect him to try to, or I did not expect it to remove.
I didn't expect it to come off that easily. It just came flying at me. That would have been funny if you'd been filming. All right, now I'm going to do 65. So I'm just scraping the old gasket material off. I am going to have to break this in half and break it down so it's smaller because I can't get into a couple spots. So I'm going to do that, which is going to be fun. What did I do with those pliers? All right, trick. Should have been wearing safety glasses, I'll say that. But when you have one of these X-Acto knife, for like one of these knives or whatever, blades, if you wrap it and hold it, or hold it with two pairs of pliers, you can pop them because this is heat treated, so it's very hard and very brittle. So you can take it and pop it. I recommend using pliers, a towel, two pairs of pliers, and a pair of safety glasses. But it works. It gives you a smaller blade to work with. I wore out a blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get to. You won't be able to tell on camera, but that blade is all kinds of boogered up, so it's not cleaning the gasket anymore. So I'm going to find a piece of scrap cardboard and toss it. Make a piece of scrap cardboard and toss it. that. And just fold it over, and if you have some tape, it's not bad to tape it up. But that way it's not going to push through and cut somebody. Mainly yourself.
I gotta ask, why do you use carb cleaner for everything?
I like it. It does a good job of getting it clean off. It dries off quick. And it does a better job on baked on stuff, I think. I know a lot of people use brake cleaner for everything, but I just like this stuff a little bit more. Right? Yeah. It's one of those things, like carb cleaner, I like it better. Maybe just because I work with it better. I've worked with it more.
It's just what you're used to, huh?
Yeah. And also maybe the fact that it's less of a degreaser, so when you do this, it doesn't tear you up as bad as doing this with brake cleaner will. Yes, I should be wearing gloves. Yes, you should wear gloves doing this. No, I'm not wearing gloves.
I mean, let's be honest. Chances are you probably won't either.
If you are, you've torn them by this point, and
That's why they have mechanics gloves. And if you don't have hands the size of bear claws, then yeah, you can...
I've got mechanics gloves. They're falling apart. They're sitting up there. They fell apart on the takedown, so I hadn't bothered putting them back on.
$75?
Yep, 75. And I'm going to let this sit for a day, then come back and do 75 again. Check it all. So, since the bedding part is supposed to be part of it, it's like, okay, then I'll just do the bedding. And then you're supposed to come back and do these thinner ones to 85. And one thing you got to watch with this one, I've noticed something when I'm doing these, is that you'll get a click, like you're there, but then it's not, and you end up having to back up, and now it's there. Make sure it can hold that click. Because if it doesn't, then it's not actually at that poundage. It's just at a stick point. Like that. So that clicked, but it still had more to go. Now it's good. So, the digital ones are really nice, but I know most people don't afford it, so it's one of these click ones are more what you see. And they're not perfect. Come on.
Yeah, those digital ones are outrageous sometimes in their pricing.
Some of it's steel too, so. There we go. Last one, which this is the most aggravating one because of how where everything is, isn't it, where you can actually get anything without hitting something.
Yeah, it hits something like, wait a minute, is that the click or is that me hitting something?
Like that. There we go. But yeah, it's kind of in. I wanted to show that at least one, especially on the high one, because you get all kinds of clicks. It doesn't mean it's actually at that poundage. It means it caught. It means it clicked. It means it hit something. So you should be able to consistently just click, 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 click when you're at that weight. If it clicks and then moves, you're not putting a whole lot of weight on it. You're trying to get just to the weight that it's set at, which right now is 75 foot-pounds.
Since we're letting it rest, that means this is going to be the end of the video. This particular video.
Be the end of this video. So it's going to be till the next one. And next time, I hope to go through and I'll tighten the center one down to 85. First, I'll check everything again at 75, and I'll do the water pump. I've got it off. I got it cleaned up, and I'll put the new one on.
Okay. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe.
Bug people with it, advertise, whatever you want.
Yes. That'll really do help us out. We're not getting paid for this. We're just asked that you do that.
Yeah.
And if you didn't enjoy this video and you hung out this long, thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
And torture your enemies with it. After all, why should you suffer alone?
Exactly. Never suffer alone. Till next time.
long.
So long.